So before I show you this book, I do need to warn you. What you're about to see contains some extreme...
Diet starts tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
You know we're in full holiday mode when we end up getting cakes on a Tuesday.
Picnic time!
Alright, we're good.
So we've decided to have a little impromptu picnic.
We just had to change locations. The grounds was just so busy. There was no way we could film in there. And also there was music playing everywhere, so we would have got a copyright strike. So we've come to Centennial Park, which is this beautiful park right here. What do we reckon? Picnic goals, right? So in today's vlog, we thought that we might just sit down and talk to you about the story of how we met. The crazy thing about today's video is it is sponsored by Pandora, the jewelry people. Every aspect of our relationship, from start until about 4 years ago, has involved certain elements of Pandora jewelry.
Yeah.
Right?
And so when we chatted to the team and we were like trying to talk about what we wanted to do, we told them this story and it got us so like nostalgic.
Well,
we were there like reminiscing about, you know, like the early days of our relationship, and then they were like, why have you guys never put this on your channel? And so we were like, you know what? That's exactly what we'll do.
Yeah, so long story short, well no, this is going to be the long version actually.
Long story long.
When we first met, Pia and I were long distance and we were living in different states. So she was living in the Gold Coast and I was living in Sydney, which, if you don't know, it's I think 950 kilometres.
Yeah, it's
so,
like an hour and a half flight.
Yeah, it's a flight every time. So every weekend, either I would fly to Pia or Pia would fly down to Sydney to hang out with me. So when we first met, we actually met over the phone.
Yeah.
We were working on a job together and the conversation started over the phone before we'd actually kind of met. It was so weird.
I know. It was meant to be like maybe a 10-minute phone call to discuss like a brief of this video type thing. This is long before we did YouTube.
Oh yeah, Pia was doing TV presenting at the time. We ended up having to speak on the phone.
Yeah.
And our phone call went from being like a 10-minute briefing to like 5 hours of just chat.
I know.
I don't even know how that happened.
I remember I was at uni at the time and I was like on the phone to you, and by the time I hung up it was like pitch black.
Yeah.
Like it was like 9 PM or something, and we had just stayed on the phone and had the funniest banter for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, you know when you meet someone and when you start chatting, it just, like, it seems very natural and you just click and you just start to chat and chat and chat more and more and more, and then time really slips away. That was what it was like.
So then we were basically like inseparable on like text message and phone calls and all that. Obviously we added each other on Facebook at the time.
Yeah.
Facebook, but we still hadn't met, and it had been like 2 weeks or so.
Well, we weren't booked to work together for about another month after that either.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna see her for ages.
So we had like our first ever Skype date, and Kane was like, listen, you need to go and get this particular bottle of wine and then meet me on Skype at 6 PM, and we had like a Skype date where we drank the same wine but just in totally different states, and that was kind of like the first time we like had a face-to-face sort of conversation.
It's kind of lame really. We ended up talking on Skype for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, like every day. It was really weird. Within about 2 days, it went from just like a random Skype conversation to every day, didn't it? Do you remember?
We had this weird like competitive spirit where it was like I was trying to like seem so much smarter than him in all the messages, so I would go like overly verbose in my responses, and I'd write like little mini essays to him.
Yeah,
they were so well thought out.
I think I've still got screenshots. We should have a look when we get home. I think it was a Friday, and we'd been chatting for about 2 or 3 weeks. So I said to her, what are you doing for breakfast tomorrow? And she goes, nothing. Why? And I said, well, have breakfast with me tomorrow. And she was like, what? I said, no, honestly, like, if you want, I'll get on a plane, I'll fly an hour and a half, I'll come and have breakfast with you. No funny business. I'll fly home again after breakfast.
No funny business.
Well, I had to like, you know, it could have looked weird.
But he had been teasing me because we were obviously like flirting hard for like the last 2 weeks.
She was flirting. So I literally got on a plane. I booked the flight straight away. I think I got the 8 AM plane, which got me in at 9:30.
Yeah.
She picked me up at 10.
But he was so nervous that when I picked him up at like 10 AM, I think you'd had like 2 glasses of champagne to like try and ease your nerves a little bit.
Which isn't a lot, but let me tell you, if you've not had breakfast, 2 glasses of champagne is enough to make you a little bit like, ugh, which I was.
So what happened is I'd like pull up at the airport, I see him walking over and I get so insanely nervous. Like I am internally freaking out.
I think you had a Mickey Mouse t-shirt on.
Did I?
I think so.
No.
Very mature girl.
Listen, it was 10 years ago. So I get out of the car and I go to like kiss him hello. And it is the most, you know when you have like a handshake with someone and it goes like totally wrong and it's like the most awkward moment? Oh my God, I just wanted to, the cringe.
It was massive. No, what happened was, Pia doesn't want to admit this bit, but this is actually what happened. And I can do it perfectly here because there's a step behind me. Right? So she has walked towards me, like hand out to come shake my hand, but I know full well she's going to go in for a kiss as well, like a polite kiss, right? And then as she gets close, she trips, slips down, headbutts me in the sternum, but I'm still at this point going in for a kiss, so I end up kind of putting my arm around her and just kissing her on the top of her head.
He literally kissed me like up here.
So like our first ever kiss was me kissing Pia there and her kissing me like here. It was very odd.
So wildly awkward. But after that we figured it out and we kind of like meshed a little bit.
Yeah, we got on, it was alright. We ended up having breakfast in a place called Burleigh, which is a little surf town about 20 minutes kind of away from
just
the
like
airport.
on the Gold Coast. And they have this one restaurant that's like on the beach. So we had breakfast at this beautiful little cafe right on the beach. I wanted to show him because I was like, oh, he's an English boy. I'm gonna introduce him to the beach. And so we had this like really nice little breakfast and he fully made me like appreciate that he had flown there. Like he was like, I hope you realise how badass this is.
It cost me loads.
He's like, if I was in England, this is like me flying to Spain to meet a chick.
It is exactly that. It was good as well because like we should have been both really nervous, but actually it was like a continuation from our Skype chats. I reckon in that 2-week window we probably must have spent about 3 hours a day on the phone.
Yeah.
Which is 3 times, 10 days, 30 hours talking.
Yeah.
By the time we got to see each other, we were like best mates.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah.
It was really crazy actually.
It just worked. Like there was not a silent moment or anything like that. We were just laughing our heads off the entire time. And then literally at like midday, I dropped him back at the airport and he flew back to Sydney.
Yeah, it was great. Like all my friends thought I was mental.
So then after that, we were long distance for the first year. So obviously it's doable because it was only like an hour-and-a-half flight. But what that meant is I was at uni and I was also working in a development company. And so every single week, what would happen is I would go to uni for like 3 days. Then I would go work part-time for 2 days. I would bring a suitcase to my workplace on Fridays.
Yep.
Then after work, go straight to the airport, fly to come and hang out with him here in Sydney. And then on Mondays, I would take my suitcase, go back and go straight to uni. But that was at like,
she'd fly home at 5 AM on Monday.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen her all week, I had to make each weekend really count, like it was a big thing.
Yeah, you planned like amazing weekends. Almost every weekend for about a year, Kane would either fly to the Gold Coast, or I would fly to Sydney for the weekends and we would just hang out the entire time.
I didn't have much money at the time because I was working and traveling a lot to go and see her. And Pia didn't have much either because of being a student. So I bought her a Pandora bracelet, but it was empty. There was nothing on it. If you know these bracelets, they're like it's like a gold bracelet, but then you add charms to it as you go.
Yeah, but I had the silver one at the time.
You did, you had the silver one. I couldn't afford the gold one.
No.
So I got her the silver one, which was still amazing. So like, let's say we went on a weekend away. At the end of the weekend, I would give her a little suitcase charm to add to her bracelet. So the bracelet slowly got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it got so full.
It got full, yeah.
It got so full I couldn't even like bend it anymore. It got like stiff.
I know, yeah, I know.
So the crazy thing is I actually kept all of the little packets and wrote on them what each of the charms meant.
Hell
and
yeah.
I scrapbooked it literally in 2010. So before I show you this book, I do need to warn you. What you're about to see contains some extreme backcombing.
Oh, I used to call Pia's haircut a crash helmet.
Volume up here.
Like Pia would dry her hair with it up in the air like this and then do this and comb towards her head, which is the opposite direction I thought anyone would comb towards, because I thought people comb away from their head. But Pia's hair would be like, she'd lift it up and go ba 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 ba. It was very odd. I still can't quite get over it now.
Check it out! This is the infamous scrapbook. Look how thick it is. It is ridiculous. I'm such a sucker for this sort of stuff.
Because this book's quite delicate, I'm gonna, rather than keep lifting it up and showing you, because it's kind of full of bits, I'm just gonna film the close-ups on my phone.
So the first one is right there and it says the birthstone of January. And now that's because that is when we actually had that pivotal phone call. So it wasn't actually when we met, but it's when we first ever like chatted.
Yeah, but I still bought her, I don't recall the charm.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Oh no, I do. No, it was the birthstone of January. So if you look in the store, they have different birthstones. I think they're the coloured ones for different months.
Yeah, and I don't remember which colour one it was though.
I'm not sure, but yeah.
It is so wild looking at this.
I didn't realise this, but at the time, Pia was screenshotting all of my emails like a psycho.
I didn't do that at the time. I just did that when I scrapbooked this. I got all like our romancy stuff.
Sure. Oh, here's another one. Here's another one. So this was in, what was this?
We took a chance and two hearts met.
This is Pia's handwriting, by the way. I'm not writing this. But I think that would have been the dice. The dice charm.
Oh, you're totally right.
I think so. Huh?
Don't show that picture.
Look, this was when we went to, I think this was, yeah, Movie World. And you put a cent or $1 or something in.
Yeah. And
it comes out as a keyring. I think you may have kept the napkin, you weirdo. This was our first trip together.
Yeah, that was our first ever holiday. Oh, that's it!
That's the Pandora right there. I remember this hotel because there was a bath right behind the bed.
So many of these photos are so embarrassing.
So annoyingly, when we moved 2 times ago from Sydney back to the Gold Coast, I don't want to say that our removalists stole anything, because I don't actually think they did, but what I do think happened is a couple of boxes actually just went missing in the move. So for example, when we moved back, we realized that all of our towels were missing. We had to go buy new towels. So it's not something that anyone would have stolen. I think just some bits went missing. And in there was all of my jewellery and the bracelets.
Yeah.
So now for the last 2 years or year and a half, despite having all these really good memories, we haven't actually got the original bracelets that we had when we first met.
So then a couple of weeks ago in Sydney, Pandora actually threw a party and we went. And we met the whole team from there, the whole like PR and marketing team and everything. And we got in the biggest conversation and told them this whole story.
Pia made this story last about an hour, by the way.
And then when we told them that we'd lost the bracelets, they said, why don't you guys start a new tradition and come into store, pick out your new bracelets and kind of start again for the next chapter.
Which I love the idea of, because when I think back to all of the charms and gems that we got over the first 10 years,
yeah.
they actually do hold some pretty good memories. I'm kind of regretful that I lost them. Like for example, there was one time I hadn't been in Australia too long, and I certainly hadn't seen a water dragon, which is like a massive, massive lizard. They're like easily like 7-8 meters long.
They're like this big.
When I was in Queensland with Pia, one of the first times, I actually saw one and it just crossed my path. I literally jumped up into the air and jumped into her arms because I thought that there was a dinosaur that was just kind of just come out of the woodwork.
He literally thought it was like a prehistoric animal.
Yeah, if you haven't seen a water dragon, they're freaky.
And I thought it was so funny, honestly. I was like, this grown man is like jumping into my arms squealing because of a water dragon.
There was no squealing.
There was squealing.
Legitimate fear. I bought Pia the little dinosaur charm. So like every time she looked at it, it reminded us of that funny time that we had when I freaked out. I mean, it's silly little things. I don't even really want to say it because it's a bit embarrassing, but like we were playing hide and seek one time and Pia hid behind a curtain. But you know how normal adults, when they hide behind curtains, they put their feet sideways? Well, Pia just had her feet forward, so she just looked like a ghost with feet sticking out the front. And I spotted her within 5 seconds, so I bought her the little ghost charm. So for everything...
Then you also got me a brown one to represent my dull brown eyes.
Accidentally, one time, Pia said, "What colour do you think my eyes are?" And I said, "Dull brown." Now let me tell you, as a man, don't ever tell a woman they have dull brown eyes.
That's like the opposite of like romance.
Well, I didn't know that, and I got in trouble. But to kind of commit to the joke, I bought her a dull brown, well it wasn't, it was just the wood one, but we called it the dull brown charm, just to kind of solidify the colour of her eyes.
They weren't even, now that I'm thinking back on it, they weren't even like mementos of like big moments. They were just kind of like personal jokes.
They were all funny jokes.
They were all like personal jokes that we had between us that Kane would then go and find like a little charm that kind of represents that, and then every time I looked at it I would kind of giggle a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. There was also like, the first time we took a holiday we didn't have too much money, so we did a road trip and I bought her a little suitcase charm.
Yeah.
So like when you looked at it, it reminded us of that. I think a lot of people like just have charms they like the look of.
Yeah.
But with us, each one kind of
sentimental.
It meant something.
Yeah. So tomorrow morning we're going to go straight to the store, go meet the girls again, and pick out our new bracelets. Let's start up.
I know what I want. I actually just want the replacement of the one that I lost.
That was perfect.
I
The leather one.
Yeah.
Just for your love. Just for your love.
They have a Harry Potter and Pandora.
I knew you were going to say that.
Should I just go straight for that? I wonder what is in it.
Pia's in a is it Hufflepuff?
No, Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Oh, look at that! It's a golden snitch with wings and everything.
It's meant to be our anniversary gift and Pia's talking about Harry Potter.
It's my romance with Harry.
Just for your love. Just for your love.
See, I can't decide now whether I want a metal one, because I had this originally.
Yeah, that one looked really good on you.
But I now have a silver ring.
Yeah, it still works. Or do you want the actual metal
Well, that
bracelet?
What does that look like? That's like this, right?
Okay, so the aim is we need to find a charm that kind of represents 1 year. Not 10 years, but 1 year, because we're starting again.
So what, you do one charm a year,
One charm, yeah.
every anniversary?
Well, it doesn't have to be every anniversary, it's just like whenever you feel like it.
Oh. Do you then get one of these charms?
Yeah, this one is very nice. It's called the Galaxy. Like,
Oh,
it's
that's
really
really
popular.
cool.
Oh, I really like that one. That one says love. Oh, see, these are all perfect. Sparkly.
That looks really nice when it moves.
I know, I really like that one.
Technically you need two.
Why?
Wedding day, and this is our first anniversary. Because our relationship isn't beginning today, it's beginning a year ago.
That's true.
Well, it began many, many years
Keep talking,
ago.
I like this. Or maybe you unlocked my heart.
No, I think,
Do I sound super
I don't
cheesy?
think that's what it is. I think it's, I've got the key to your heart.
Oh yeah, you have the key.
Yeah.
Just for your love.
This thing's really useful.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it with
Otherwise,
that.
every time you take it off, all of your charms can slide off.
Like,
Oh,
it's gonna
that
move around
is
like you like, but it's
super
still gonna
cute.
fit.
I think I'm sold on this little locket.
Which one? The love heart?
Yeah.
Pia wants this one, which I kind of agree with is super cute.
Because he has the key to my heart. I think you should get this black leather one because I think it looks really cool with
I'll
most
try
of
it
the
for you.
stuff that
Yeah?
you wear.
Yeah.
And then getting a like a silver charm.
With my watch or this side?
That side.
So, I think I'm going to get this one, which is leather, so it looks a little bit more in line with my style.
Oh, look at that one.
Is that a unicorn?
Yeah, that's Bruno the unicorn. And that's Dinosaur. Yeah, they have names.
Is that really it, Bruno the unicorn?
That's
I mean, I think I'll go with the dog.
the dog, yeah.
I think the bracelet can represent you,
And the
then
dog
the dog
represents
represents my firstborn. Right, now we're getting distracted.
Yeah.
We're getting distracted.
Stick
Can we
with
just
the
take those
muesli
ones,
one.
please?
Of course.
Thanks.